Wah, wah, wah.
Welcome to the next reel. It's the film board, and it's one of our special edition things. And we're going to talk about. We have a history, I think, of talking about movies that are brand new and terrible. And so tonight we're going to be talking about the Wolverine. The jury's out. We're going to see if it is also terrible. And we got a full house tonight. We've got on my right. Tommy Handsome. Tom Metz, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm sorry that I've been so absent lately, but I just really got into Pinterest. But I'm back now. And I'm ready to
Excellent. So, to Tommy's left is Chad Stoops.
Hello there. Hello there. Hello there.
Excellent.
That's
Chad.
me, myself, and I saying hello to all of you.
Welcome. And immediately under Chad is Andy Nelson.
Howdy-ho!
Didn't see that coming. No, sir. And hanging precariously from Andy is Steve Sarmento.
It's dangerous here.
And bouncing on clouds, lilting through the sky, the illustrious, inimitable Mike Evans.
Why can't I be the center square?
Hey, man, you're bouncing on clouds.
Because that's taken up by Chaco.
Chaco.
Gentlemen, I am so this full house bit. It really excites me. I'm so glad everybody is here, and for what a film to have everybody be able to chime in on this film. And I would like to open with a question. I think for me, this is the most important question that I have for each of you. I'm shooting for the half-life of the plot of this film. What do I mean by that? I mean, I saw the movie at 10 a.m. on Friday morning. And by Saturday about 4 o'clock, I have no idea what the movie was about anymore.
Yes, Peter. Can we touch fingers?
Oh, yes,
Me too.
it's
That was a
electric.
high five finger.
So,
High five.
where do we stand on the half-life of the plot?
Phew.
Does anybody still remember what the movie was about now that they've seen it?
I do. It's about Hugh Jackman being in the rain because he's in the rain about 7 times with his man boobies, and that's what it's about.
He's going to come to your house.
With his, I know.
What do we think? What do we think of this film?
Well, I'll agree with you. I think the half-life is somewhere around 24 hours because I saw this film Saturday morning and then went to go see it again this afternoon. Someone that hadn't seen it really wanted to see it. I thought, well, here's an opportunity to see it again prior to our discussion. And yeah, things had fallen apart.
It was
upon a second viewing, it's just like, wow, this is, a 300-mile-an-hour train wreck, literally.
Well, luckily, at least that second time, I imagine there were some things that were a surprise once again.
Yes, there were some surprises.
Oh, look, they did that. Didn't see that coming. What else? Who else? Andy, what did you think of it?
Yeah, it is one of those films that the plot kind of goes by and it makes sense at the time, and then later you're like, okay, I know that he was doing these things for some reason, but I think it boils down to less it just doesn't make sense or something like that, as it's more a plot that is just forgettable. It's not very interesting, and these things happen. You don't really see any logic behind it, and then you get to the end and you're like, yeah, okay. That's about where I stand.
Here's how you know, Pete, that a movie like this, where you got a bunch of teenagers watching this movie, sitting around you, and they find better things to do 3 or 4 times throughout the movie because they leave for 15 minutes and come back like we're in someone's living room. That to me was like a huge. I had somebody next to me that was almost like, he was like Rain Man, like just was rocking back and forth, and I was with him at one time. I was like going, geez, there's just so much dialogue, and he's just Wolverine's talking. Why is he talking still? He should be fighting someone. That's how I felt. To fight someone. kill the lady next to you. I don't know, just fight someone. That's why I felt like there was a lot of exposition about little like dialogue-y stuff that really didn't involve, like you said, a plot that you could remember. Just a lot of like just little bitty moments in Japan.
There were a lot of Japanese moments. That's,
a lot of
That's
Japanese.
the truth. Tommy, where do you stand? He's not even here anymore. It's that new computer.
It's really doing him good. This movie.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Good.
I mean, I'll say something.
Yes. Well,
So
you were next anyway. So.
Why? Thank you. I'm up on my cloud. So, I mean, one thing I thought was interesting was that, you know, I really sort of enjoyed all the Japanesey parts of it, and then when you know Logan was, his dialogue moments or whatever, it's like it was very contrasted, right? It's like, yes, he's obviously not of the Japanese culture and everything, but it was very like there's a lot of interesting things going on with all the politics and everything, and I found myself interested in that and not as interested in what was going on with Wolverine, right? I was trying to figure out what all the little subplots that were going on there, and then one thing I thought I think it kind of fell down a little bit on was, okay, so they drag him out here, and they offer him, you know, the tortured soul release and all that type of stuff, but they hadn't really built it up as to that. I mean, you know, and his reaction was, "Yeah, thanks. So I'm gone." But you know, they could have built it up a little bit more so that we would have understood why this guy thought he was a. You know, it's almost like they penciled it in. Yeah, he's been around for a while. You know, been doing stuff. I'm sure he wants to die, so we'll offer it to him. You know, so you know, we weren't really convinced that he was wouldn't even be interested in that sort of thing.
And they're really relying on people having seen, you know, the X-Men trilogy and the previous film, I think, a lot to develop that tortured soul. But you're right. I mean, they could have had a little bit more in there to just kind of give us a better sense of that.
Well, you know what's funny? I mean, that was the thing that I actually wasn't bugged by, because you know, remember that Andy and I had this conversation months ago when the trailer first hit. It was one of our trailer picks, and I was frustrated then because they were making the case in the trailer that this was going to be oh my god, I'm a superhero, but having powers is so hard, you know, and that I think is dumb. That is the dumbest angle ever possible ever, and it's like the low-hanging emotional baggage fruit in superhero storylines. You are a mutant with awesome in your bones. Quit your bitching, you know what I mean? I need a story like this. So that was the part that I did not actually find annoying. I was really relieved that it was that he, you know, he was surprised that he was trucked all the way to Japan, that the old man wasn't actually out to do him a favor that he was really looking for, and that he you know, rebuked the favor, and that it ended up being a, you know, more of a story about, you know, right, stealing powers. I thought that was you know, I thought that was more interesting. It was from then on, I think things just were daft. Like they just fell apart. I think
it got awfully clunky because, in my opinion, it was more about, like I said, I was more interested in what, you know, who the characters were and the political and all the stuff going on. And I think the problem is it became less about the title character, you know, and he's just there. And even the motivation, it's like, how does he become suddenly? I mean, I know he's got the soldier, and they touched on that where, you know, he protects people, but why did he choose to suddenly protect? Of all, I mean, there's like half a dozen people he could have like tried to protect, right? But he chose the granddaughter, maybe for obvious reasons, maybe just because it's easier that way. But it's like, and then he goes through, you know, creating sushi out of Yakuza and throughout the whole rest of the movie for this one person that it's like, you know, they didn't really establish why he would do that.
I think
why didn't he just
sashimi? But go
They
ahead.
did establish it. It was
Yeah.
the goo goo eyes.
Well, did they zing?
The goo goo eyes in the rain, yeah.
Yeah, they had the little goo goo eyes in the rain before she tried to commit suicide.
But
Andy, did you
still-
decide to go hang out in like a racquetball court? I don't know why you're sitting over there.
It's my Are you only hearing me the echo?
Oh, that's weird. You're also coming through.
It's like I'm hearing you through Chad's mic.
Yeah.
I hear him great. I hear him just fine. I don't know what you guys' problem is.
Technically, this is spot on so far.
I'm gonna let you figure that out. Tom is back. Tom, come on, chime in.
I am back. I apologize. Yeah, as well, like 9 topics have gone on since I learned how to turn on my computer.
I want to talk about sushi again.
Yeah. No, I mean, as far as the shelf life of the plot, yes, I immediately, well, I kind of understood it to a certain point. I immediately, whenever there wasn't fighting, and I guess I should start with just reminding listeners probably don't know, you guys know because we've talked about it. This film is not for me. Like, I'm not a superhero guy. I love Batman. Past that, I have very little interest. I hate big boss fights. And I thought that the big boss fight in this film was incredibly laughable. The thing that really stuck with me was, and I don't know, I was gone for a second, but the thing that I remember about the movie is the bullet train sequence. Which
that was
I
pretty
think
good.
was incredible. Which reduced me to like a childlike wonder. And even though it wasn't in 3D, I was ducking like an idiot. But apart from that, no, a lot of my biggest problem with the movie, well, wait, where are we right now? Are we just giving overall thoughts? Because more of my thoughts are more sort of based in little kind of things.
Do your little things. Go for little things.
My biggest, do your little things. That's what you said. One of my biggest problems with the movie was the female lead. I found her to be, I don't know if it was her part or not, but I found her to be incredibly unengaging. No chemistry. There was so much chemistry between Wolverine and red-haired Ninja Magoo.
Oh, I thought the red-haired Ninja Magoo was the female lead.
No, because he's saving the daughter,
who ends up being the president of the company.
Exactly.
Oh, so you're texting her as a female lead because I think he had more on-screen chemistry with the red-haired girl.
Oh,
she
did have.
But he's falling. He's supposed to fall in love. I guess
that's the Goo Goo Eyes in the Rain.
Right. I define the female lead being who the person that you're trying to save, and B, the love interest of the hero. And if you follow that line, they made a horrible misstep in not having red-haired Ninja Magoo be it, because she was so much fun and the other woman was just such a blank for me. So the whole thing was not worth carrying. It was kind of like I cared about her as much as I care about the princess that like Mario is saving. Like, you just have to keep going forward.
Right.
But I felt that really hurt the overall need for what the film was doing.
Well,
But Tom, I totally agree with Tom because, as I said, I had a second viewing, and going back to my first viewing, everything with Logan and Yukio, the red-haired girl, she was such a strong character from her introduction, and she's this key into Japan and all of that. And then as soon as that funeral, she's got that awesome fight scene, then we get on the train and she's gone out of the movie except for like waking up. Oh, I saw, I had this vision. She's gone for so long. That is when the movie just really dies.
It just goes to sleep.
Yes. Because I don't care about this other relationship. I thought, wow, I've got this really interesting character that's got this, a little mysterious history to her, and gone. And I thought, well, then she comes back, and then when she comes back, she's such a flat, there's nothing to her anymore. They used it all up in the beginning, and there's nothing left. They don't really need her, I feel like. So they introduce her for a couple things, but she just doesn't have that dynamic anymore. I love the beginning of this film, but after that bullet train, it fell apart.
I totally agree. And they bring her back as the chick to drive the Audi, right? And yet, just to illustrate your collective point, to me, when they fly, when Logan and Ninja Magoo fly off into the sunset together on the plane together at the very end, there was still such a sense of relief for me that he didn't end up with the daughter. Like, it was like, okay, maybe there's going to be room for a continued story.
But he sort of did.
No, he left with
the girl. She's the girl in the port.
She's Robin to his Batman. You know, I mean,
Yes.
Yeah,
I really wanted them to end that scene with a callback to, or a little homage to Say Anything with the little like buckle the seatbelts light to come on because they're sitting there in the plane waiting for takeoff. I was like, a little.
And was there a little bit like as they get on the plane, where the Yukio looks back at Miyuki? It was almost like, well, now is he mine or is he yours? He's leaving with me.
Yeah.
You got the kiss, but he's leaving with me.
Yeah.
And it almost like that little, almost like a question of who really he's with as he's leaving. But I think you guys are right though, because when Mayuki came into the picture, it sucked all of the energy out, and she became Yukio became like your. Oh, I'm clairvoyant, and like a plot device just to keep him, give him a little bits of foreshadowing, right? And I think it would have been much better if she had been, much more involved in the movie throughout.
Yeah, the whole bit with her being clairvoyant when she sees his death and goes back to remove the thing from his heart. That whole bit was one of the slowest bits for me, and it's painful.
And they did the little trope where he dies, but he doesn't die. His heart stops there before he dies.
Reborn.
Well, and she didn't even get that. She didn't even get that right, though, because she said, "I see it." No, your heart is in your hands beating.
Yeah.
And that really didn't even happen. And then she goes, "Well, I guess
technically it did." I thought on the second viewing, I thought about that, and I think. The way she describes it, we're conjuring. He's got his heart outside of his chest in his hand.
Outside of his chest,
but
inside,
it's in his hand is in his chest, and his heart is in his hand. Now, how she can see that? She's not only clairvoyant, she's got X-ray vision, so she can see through his chest.
Why would
she says she doesn't see it, like it comes in like a keyhole.
But it wasn't really in his hand. He just picked a tick off his heart.
No,
really.
but his heart was in his hand, like he had his hand.
On his heart.
But did you see it? I never saw that. I didn't see his heart actually.
Well, you only see it through the X-ray, right? Through the
right.
I saw his fingers. I saw his finger like creeping up toward it, going, "I almost touching my heart," and then they moved the rack.
I can't see.
Yeah, no, that was the funniest part of the movie to me. He goes, "I can't. Could you move the thing back? Could you please? Could you? I'm doing an operation here on myself." Like that.
Just stop fighting for a moment.
Yeah.
The Yukio as a character, I think is and we jest with her as the Irish Ninja McGee, but she is she's a one of those I think legendarily kind of strong female characters. She was created by Frank Miller. She's been around for 30 years in the Marvel universe. Like she wasn't, obviously was not made up for the film. She was, I think, and she never had these powers before now. She was never clairvoyant. She has in fact no powers. And I think what's so interesting, what I think they lost in this movie is that in her, her background, she is the one who is the masterless samurai. She's the Ronin of the whole thing. She's always been the Ronin. And this whole time, like the pivot that they did for the movie, which I don't think works, is they ended up making her sort of the samurai for Yoshida. And, in order to further cement this, this sort of worldview of Logan being the Ronin and that this is his new sort of identity trait. And I don't think that works in her respect. I think they lose, the strength of what could have been a really powerful female role. And otherwise, as you guys have said, it just kind of falls apart.
Can I ask a non-superhero informed question? I didn't realize that that character is a real person from the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, her first appearance was Wolverine #1, like
really?
in 1982. Yeah.
Is the boss? I'm sorry, the boss fight. Meaning, who turns out to be the ultimate villain? Is he a real person?
You mean the grandfather?
The grandfather, the big steel beast at the end. Is he a real person, or is he just for this movie?
I think he's just for the movie.
That's. Well, there is the Silver Samurai. The Silver Samurai is a thing, but now
Mariko, Mariko
But it's
Yoshida
unclear if
is in-
he was that.
Well, it was a different Japanese character, was my understanding. It wasn't him. It wasn't Yoshida.
but Mariko
It was the son
Yoshida,
of
Mariko
Yoshida.
Yoshida is a real character.
Oh
in
yeah,
Marvel.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was the Silver Samurai was originally as far as I know, the original Silver Samurai was the son of Yoshida, not Yoshida himself.
So did they mess things up by not casting Hiroyuki Sanada, who was his son? Why wasn't he then the Silver Samurai? Should they have written it better?
I think,
Oh,
and
wow.
I think that has nothing to do with the Marvel. The Marvel thing, they just should have written it better.
Better period.
Across the
So-
board.
Well, and the
But
Silver
like
Samurai.
Green Goblin's son taking over for his father, that kind of a thing.
Right. Exactly.
so
And in
one
this
thing-
case, so the Silver Samurai's been
Guys.
around for even longer than Yukio. I mean,
Yeah, but-
it was from the Daredevil line.
But the Silver Samurai is Harada.
Right.
So
The son of
So
Yoshida.
yeah, so Tom, just to make you hate this even more.
Not Harada. You mean Shingen?
No, but Kenichio Harada was the original Silver Samurai.
Oh,
But-
the,
but-
the
but
bow and
so-
arrow.
I'm
He was
terrible
the
with
bow
names.
and arrow.
Right.
He was
Arrow
the
guy, yeah.
He was the bow and arrow guy, but Tom.
He's the Silver Samurai? What?
No. Here, Tom, just to make you hate this even more. One thing to understand is that all the canon for X-Men, and I was talking to Chad about this earlier, all the canon stuff is normal Marvel universe, right? All the movies that have been made for the X-Men stuff is what's called Ultimate Universe, which is basically, yeah, there's all that stuff, but we have different writers and would like to do different things with these characters. So we're just going to make another universe for it.
Oh, like an
And
alternate universe. I see.
It's alternate universe. Some of the names are the same. Some are different. Rules are different. They can kind of do what they want, and don't have to answer to X-Men geeks like me who say, well, 40 years ago you wrote one issue that said the guy was like this and like that, and he can't be this. And they're like, well,
Oh,
we're just gonna do alternate universe, and then we're gonna we can do whatever we want. So it's sometimes it's kind of hard to look at the
Sure.
the traditional roles of these characters and go, how are they're allowed to do kind of what they want in the movies.
I kind of like the freedom of that. That also kind of makes me want to punch a comic book in the face.
Yes.
Because I like the idea of canon and stuff. Then my last question, and then I promise I will not keep making this go down a rabbit hole. But the so Marvel had their own Poison Ivy, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's her name was what? Venom, Viper.
Viper.
And it's pretty much the exact same thing. Only she didn't control plants. She just kisses with death.
Right.
And she's immune to poison.
Spits
And she's
acid.
immune to poison. Okay, cool. Sorry, and
Spits acid.
I know I should know more about this stuff, but I don't. Okay, thank
And
you
she got-
guys.
I don't know anything about her either.
And
so.
she can touch her nose with her tongue.
Right.
So.
Good to
all the
know.
way
That if I was an
up her
X-Men,
nose.
that would be my mutant superhero
Look what I can do.
power. Yeah, like I could roll my tongue or
Yeah.
whistle really loud. Like I'd be so lit.
Blows
Right.
his hair back. Yeah.
So,
Ah.
I mean, the big boss fight. Now, when we mentioned the big boss fight was a little bit depressing for me because they build this huge thing out of adamantium, which they've sort of established earlier in the series is indestructible once it's solidified, right? You keep it molten and it's whatever, but once it solidifies, now it's indestructible, right?
Unless really
unless you have
hot sword.
you have a light sword.
But also made of adamantium.
Right.
Right, so the sword's-
Heated
which is heated
adamantium
adamantium.
sword.
Right.
And
hotter.
you have to hold it with two hands
Because you're a
Right.
samurai.
because
Right.
it's a samurai and
And body heat.
It
I
only
guess.
That's kind of like rock beat scissors.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that they were able to put an arrow through the face of it. I mean, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
you
they
make
put
this-
the arrow through the window, the vision window, which didn't matter because his head is actually like an entire foot
chest.
lower than the
Yeah.
head.
But, I mean, I will say that the part where Harada is like grabbing the arrow and he's like talking to it. Before that, you think it's a robot, right? And then
I never thought it was a robot.
oh, see, okay,
See,
so
that's another big thing we have to go into when we figured out what the twist was.
okay, so I was the naive movie watcher. I thought it was a robot because it moved sort of robot-y, and it was just sitting there, right? So he put that, and he's sitting there talking to it, and I'm like, you moron, you can't reason with a robot. So am I the only one who was that naive?
No, I was with you on that time. Only I'm. Who was talking? Mike. Sorry, hey Mike, the guy who saw the movie with. Mike, the thing you're right, because he's sitting there for a majority, like when they introduce or they show this monster thing, and he's just sitting there. I mean, I don't know
napping.
how
He's an old man.
he's napping.
He's
Well, he's napping through like lunch and maybe a
Yes.
bathroom break. He doesn't
Right,
do
and-
anything. He just sits there. He
No.
doesn't have a cup of coffee. He doesn't even get in it. He's just sitting in there.
He's just sleeping.
And then-
It's keeping
and then
Well,
him
yeah,
alive.
because he's
Yeah,
plugged
they bring
in.
it. No, but
It'd
they
probably
bring
be
him
a
in.
cup of tea.
It's like they activate him to chop off his claws, right? Which
Right.
I don't even understand why they were doing that. So
Because he
it's
needed
like-
he needed his
They needed to
he
get
needed
into
the
the marrow,
marrow
the bone
needed his
marrow.
in order to get
essence.
his healthy part
where did you
Yes.
figure that out?
Yeah, that
during
didn't-
the movie.
Oh, because it's all going to make sense.
Like,
And also,
Because-
comic.
Old stills,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna ask you: Did you guys like watch it in 4D? Were you getting like subtitles or some sort of Twitter
No,
stream?
it
I have
was-
no
it
idea what
was
you're
this-
talking about.
It was this horrible attempt to like
Had two teenagers.
bring logic to the last part of this film. What clued me in that something funny was going on with the Silver Samurai robot thing was Viper's little like monologue about, oh, I specialize in biochemistry and metaphysics. I'm like, metaphysics? What? What does it have to do
Oh.
with anything? And I was like, okay, so I thought, oh, they had like, I was being more elaborate and was like, oh, they transferred his consciousness. His body died, but they transferred his consciousness into the
Yeah.
adamantium thing or something like that. Because I thought, oh, metaphysics, that's really like out there. No, it's just, whatever. We're gonna throw big words out there, and then the drill bits drilling into the marrow. I thought, oh, okay, they need to get. That's why they're taking the claws off so they can access the bone to get in there. And then I thought, okay, they drill in there, so how they're exactly extracting his regenerative properties through that, I don't know. And apparently, it's like you've got to have 100% of it for it to take effect, unless you're the originator. Because Yoshida starts getting younger. I thought, oh wow, now he's going to be able to regenerate. No, because apparently once you break that connection, it all drains out of you and goes back into I don't know.
Yeah, that didn't make sense.
Okay, now why
Back
is
into
there
space.
is the bone inside of the claw?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
this. They're cloaked.
They're coated, which I thought was an interesting.
They cut
I mean,
the
I don't know
claws
as
off.
much about. Well, I don't know as much about them. I'm not a big comic book person, but I thought this is sort of like a big shift for the character. It's sort of, Iron Man 3, Tony Stark, gave up that whole, thing in his chest. And I thought, okay, well, that's a big change for that character to take that weakness away. But now with Wolverine, they're taking one of his strengths away of those blades. Now, I'm sure they may write in a way to bring those back, but I thought that's an interesting thing to have happen to that character. One of his sort of trademark characteristics is now gone.
Only in the movies. So something to know.
Right.
Wolverine's mutant power is the healing. The claws do not exist in the comics.
The
The
bone
natural
claws?
claws.
What?
The bone
Claws don't.
claws.
Oh, okay.
Really?
The
Oh,
bone
the
claws
bones are always
don't
there?
exist in the comics. They're added. They're mechanical. They're mechanical
Oh.
additions as part of the Weapon X project. So they're
Oh.
so
These bone claws are just another way to demonstrate how much that X-Men's Origin Wolverine movie just really derailed everything.
It's its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
okay.
Because-
and they're going. Go ahead,
ahead.
Mike. Finish your.
No, go ahead.
No, you got it.
Well,
No,
because
okay, I'll go.
there's there's little bits of it like you just. I spent the whole time sitting there going, now wait a minute. So how did the bone regenerate through like the residual
That's what I
adamantium that
meant.
was left over, and like because and another thing is like he's ripping apart this robot that's made of adamantium, right, with just his hands. I mean,
Well,
he's
because
not,
he's really
Yeah.
strong,
Not
and
that
it's
strong.
it's
Well, no,
leveraging-
because all
Yeah,
the parts, all the adamantium parts were put together with like twist ties. So he didn't.
Oh.
He just had to pull them.
And the twist ties weren't
and he was-
adamantium.
and he was
Right, no.
willing
There you go.
them together.
Okay, did it bother anybody else that when his regenerative powers are sort of weakened, that every time he shot those blades out of his hands, I'm thinking if he can't heal from a bullet wound, he's going to be like wearing gloves of blood because these claws are going to come out, they're going to retract, and he's just going to bleed all over the place.
That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons that he can have them during the whole comic book part of it. Is that nobody else could have it because nobody else has the healing power.
Right.
So he
exactly.
basically cuts his hand open every time he does it. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So, but when they're natural, I guess
There's
they're
no bleeding. I don't know.
Maybe.
Just a bunch of extra fingers.
Sure. Like fingernails.
10-5. I thought
That just goes to show the overall problem with that element of the script. That whole thing just really was flawed.
He's a big tickle monster.
I don't think they thought through the boss battle well. I think they wrote a lot of expository stuff in the middle of this getting us to that point, and then it's almost like they felt like, okay, well, when we reveal the fact that it's the old guy, it's like we just need to pop it and get it done, because it's like that battle could have gone a lot longer, and it could have been awesome and stuff and everything, and the Viper lady takes an arrow to the chest, right?
Yeah,
but just pulls it off. Apparently, her skin is really good. And then, like, where'd all the ninjas go? There's like 175,000 ninjas, that were in the village, and then, we're taking a break. We're on break now while our boss is getting his ass beat, up in the tower. It's like,
always try to defeat a big boss during a shift change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I knew I should have done that on Castle Wolfenstein.
Can we? Do you mind if we go back and just because I'm so interested in this kind of stuff, when different people, or what was the signifier, knew that maybe Old Man Magoo, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible at names. I'm like the worst person on this podcast. Old Man Magoo, when he dies, that he might not be dead or will certainly come back.
Yes, but first I just want to interject one quick thing, because on Mike's topic, because I have not read this series, but in 2001. Wolverine Origin came out. Have you read this, Mike?
The comics or the
it's a comic. Wolverine Origin. There were 6 issues in 2001, in which Wolverine does have the bone claws, and they supposedly tell the story again, not inside the original Wolverine canon, but you feel like they've been trying to set the seed for the fact that they're going to violate this character in film, and they'd better have comics to back it up.
Well,
I haven't read it. I'm going to get the collection and read it, but it's...
Well, and what's even more confusing is that, Marvel, like for the Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, the recent movies, right? They have something called the Marvel Cinematic Universe set up, right? Which, and you've seen, like, even with the Amazing Spider-Man, right? It's like literally they're completely forgetting about even the 3 other Spider-Man movies. They're like, those weren't that great. Let's just do something else. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like, okay, we're setting this up just for these characters, right?
Right.
So nothing else that goes on in any other movies or the comics or even the Ultimate Comics has to connect. I mean, it can. It makes it easier, but literally they can do whatever they want.
Yes, and which is fine. They are making all the money.
You just need like comic geeks need to just realize that going in saying, okay, this like I'm in a little virtual machine of this movie, and I'll just enjoy it for what it is.
You have to. I mean, you've got 40 years of comic book history and so many storylines. It's like, you can. How do you condense that? Well, you're going to pick and choose some elements, and it's going to be sort of just a mishmash or collage of aspects of the different universes or this or that, and that's
which is good. And because the comics themselves were not always, you didn't always treat canon with great fidelity.
Right.
I mean, they've butchered their own stuff. Right. And before we get back to Tom's question, the other, speaking of the cinematic universe, the others, if you hopefully stayed to the end of the film and saw the teaser for the Marvel's The Avengers Age of Ultron and Ant-Man are coming. And the next, what is the next? It's not Avengers. That was not Age of Ultron. I'm talking
about X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah, Days of Future Past.
I do not envy the writers on that have to patch up all this X-Men Last Stand nonsense. And actually there was an interview with James Mangold where he said when they shot that extra little piece that's in the, in the middle of the credits there, he said, sure, he talked with Bryan Singer, and he's like, hey, sure, I have no problem shooting this because I don't have to explain any of this. Bryan Singer's the one's going to have to deal with explaining how we get to this point now.
Right.
Oh my God.
It's good. Yeah. It's going to be a mess.
He's like, sure, yep, bring him in, wheelchair, blah, 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 and there we go. And
Not
fine.
my problem.
I'll shoot it, not my problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
it
Jack.
turns out the entire thing was a dream from an autistic kid looking at a snow globe. Good luck. Is that a timely reference? I don't know.
Yes.
St. Elsewhere. People are still talking about St. Elsewhere on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
All right, good. I like to keep my pulse on the finger.
Let's get back to
finger on the pulse.
your question, Tom. Say your question again, because I totally derailed you like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, my question was, am I the handsomest of all of us?
Yes.
Your voice is the handsomest.
My question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Your name is the most handsome.
Thank you, and thank you, Logitech. Okay. No, my question was, I felt, and I'm not trying to sound like a smarty pants. I think I just lucked out because I'm aware of certain tropes in films.
Yeah.
I felt that I way too early on knew that old man McGeets was still alive and was going to be.
Oh, clearly. Yeah, I mean, you see him with the advanced medical stuff, and then you've got a character that can see when people die saying, I didn't see this coming. I'm like, well, duh.
Right. Okay, so there was that,
Yeah.
and then for me, the biggest one for me, even before she said that, was you had this really big scene with him, and then he fairly unceremoniously died
Oh,
off
yeah.
camera.
Just-
And when
yeah.
someone dies off camera and is just
They're not dead.
peeled away Oswald style, it's
Yeah.
like there's something that you would always have that in the film unless you're trying to
Yeah.
hide.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
I completely agree. That's when I right from the beginning I knew that he was alive, and as soon as I saw the silver samurai suit, I knew he was sitting inside of it.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
Sitting there.
That is
Just
really
time.
funny about the idea of him waiting so long. That's so funny. I
Apparently
never
missed.
thought about
apparently,
that. You guys brought it
Playing
up.
Atari games in there.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
He's playing Pong.
Well, what
That's all he
they
gets.
didn't, yeah, and that's it's like great. He's been in there for how many days? What's he eating? I don't know. That's that whole, you,
Well, can I ask you guys a question? And this is because I'm not a smarty pants. I often happen to watch movies naively, right? Like there was nothing that keyed me off that old man Magoo was going to be in the thing at the end, right? But I blame myself completely. But the thing that was interesting was the Mayuki or the Mayuko Mariko, the granddaughter, right? The granddaughter's reaction during the funeral at the thing, and then all the Yakuza are attacking and they're grabbing her, and then she gets on the train after he saves her, and she's just like, she just pops in the headphones and like, I'm gonna hang out down
Those were the
south for a
magic
couple
headphones
months.
that
For a
just
couple
appeared in
days.
her fans.
But
see, Tom,
like
that's
the whole time.
something. Yeah, that was something that was why I thought that whole beginning was really strong, because there was enough mystery. So it's like, well, there's something sketchy going on.
I thought
and so
she
when
was in on it. I
Yes,
thought she
exactly.
was
So she's
in-
like, oh, Wolverine. She said, I don't need you. I'm fine. And he's
Right.
like, well, Yakuza. It's like you're gonna get on a train.
even-
She's like, oh yeah, no, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I thought,
Yeah.
okay,
But
she's
even the
clearly-
even the
But see, that's
dialogue
it.
wasn't right. The dialogue,
Yeah,
like, the
that's
first time she said it was like, she's like, he's like saying something, and she goes, I'm good, go on. And you're like, but that's not what he said.
It's almost like she steps on his line, but
Or
then
like-
they
like,
kept it in
it's like
because
it's
he
a
goes,
prepared line. No, it's like
Yeah.
prepared. Like I'm going to say this, or like she's leading him, and then she's
Right.
supposed to like.
she's
he's
supposed to lure him into something so they can
like-
capture him. And yeah,
right.
that's what I
like
thought.
he knew, she
Yeah.
knew he was going
Yes.
to be weakened.
Right.
And that they were he wouldn't be able to make it, and she was just her role was just to get on the train and take off. No one
Just the
expected him
bait,
to
yeah.
keep going, right?
That
Right.
felt like
And
a
then-
major script rewrite
Right.
moment. Like that.
Yeah.
That was the
Yes.
direction the script was
Right.
going.
Yeah.
They never reshot it. They said, we can use it. nobody will really catch on.
and that's what
There's
it's
lots of things in this film where
Right.
and maybe it was second. I caught it the first time and it bothered me, and second viewing I thought, let me pay close attention when they're having their little dinner and he jabs his chopsticks in the bowl, and she's like, "Oh, don't do that. That's
They're back again.
They're back again." And I thought, wait, let me pay attention really close on the second time to see if when they're talking he like does something with them. No, and I'm like, how do you not catch that? I mean, because it's clear she reaches out. It's not like shirt unbuttoned, tie slightly out of place. It's the chopsticks right there in the bowl that they talked about.
Well, and then they talk about it again.
I have a guess for that.
She puts them back down. Like
Yeah, she takes them out, puts them down, says, "Don't do that."
But he
but then
does
she
it
does
again.
it again. Like
Off camera, he puts them back in because she
I'm sorry,
has the
did I
line where
interrupt?
she says, "What is it that she says?" She says, he says something about "I don't really catch on" or something, and she says, "Yeah, clearly," because she looks at the chopsticks that he left there again and puts
I
down.
didn't catch that. I didn't catch that. So
No,
Well,
it's a
but-
complete editing problem because the
yes,
first,
it is.
and I have a theory about it. You guys want to hear my
Okay.
awesome
Oh.
theory about it?
yes,
Yes,
me too.
good.
It's
Let me
because-
let me guess that no one actually watched the movie.
Oh, snap. Did you get in my theory diary? No, it was just that the original time that they filmed that scene,
Yeah.
and I think that there were reshoots involved, that because he ends and he says, "Well, I don't understand," and then she, in the original scene, goes, "Yeah," looks at his upright chopsticks, which I know from, I used to work for a Chinese director, and even in China, having upright in your bowl is like really bad. That's actually super true. And she just took it down and she says, "That's because you're not Japanese." End of scene.
Yeah.
When all these other, like Christopher McQuarrie and all these other people came in and were like, they have no chemistry, something's wrong, we have to care about this woman, they re-gave her this speech to be able to tell exactly why chopsticks can't be up there because they represent incense, all the stuff, and then she gets to talk about her family and all the stuff.
Right.
And then it just didn't match up with that last scene that they filmed.
So the whole part, I think you're on to something. That whole part felt fake. Like the whole romantic connection felt fake. Like he's seeing Jean Grey every single night, and he's talking to her like she's there. Yet somehow he's able to push that away because of the rain and the shirtless and the thing.
It's the rain.
Right.
It's the
he's
rain,
able to just ignore that and get it on with the and develop that, which I felt was rushed and B completely constructed, right?
Super rushed, super
because
constructed.
I'm still sitting here going, she's in on something.
Well,
At that point in the movie, I'm still thinking that somehow she's connected to the bigger plot, and then at the end of the movie, she's not. She's just a victim, and she's because she's the heir. But at the first half of the movie, she's a conspirator somehow. And one of the sides or the other, either with her grandfather or with her dad or with her fiance or somebody.
Or with Viper,
or whatever. She's somehow in on it.
The whole will makes no sense then, because it's like, okay, grandfather bypasses the son to give it to the granddaughter as part of his plan to lure Wolverine in. I mean, that was the thing that I couldn't grasp of. Okay, so he needs to get Wolverine, so I'm going to will everything to my daughter or my granddaughter, because that's. I mean, I thought, okay, other than creating this weird subplot with her father and the fiance to kidnap her, I thought, well, that's really like tacked on and wedged in there. And that whole fiance character, I just thought, he's just this plot device to get some information.
Yeah, it's like they got afraid. It's like they got afraid of where the movie was going when they were shooting it, and they had, and like Andy said, they had to rewrite it quickly because it was really interesting. And I've seen Japanese movies before, where they often have layers and of intrigue, and it's like everything means something, which they said in the movie. Everything.
And
means
I was
something,
expecting that. I wanted that.
And up until that point, that was the movie up until that point, and then they're like, oh, they gotta like each other, so let's make this like a Western romance with a big boss battle, and that's what happened.
Yeah,
and I feel bad. I feel bad that that's what they decided to do because I was sort of into the first half of the movie.
Well,
I felt like when they started getting it on, that fade out so early wasn't because they were worried about PG-13, but that the film itself had become ashamed. It's supposed to be like, this isn't working. We're just going to go on. Remember that bullet train sequence? That was dope. Okay, bye.
Well, and maybe it's just me, and there were a lot of things that just caught my eye that just distracted me. So we've got, as I count them, I think like 4 or 5 of these, these dreams with Jean Grey. You've got the one at the very beginning, and then there are a couple, but there were 2 of them. One when they're in the Love Hotel or whatever, when he's out on the balcony in the rain, and another one right near the end. And it seems like they shot those at different times because her makeup looked really different. Because in the first one, it's like, okay, it's like they're there, and then in the one when he's on the balcony, she just looks like, I don't know if they shot it in soft focus or something, but there was just a lot less detail to her. And I thought, okay, is this because he's about to pass out that he's not as clear? But if you look at this, there's somewhere you can see the details in her face, and there's others where it's like, wow, it's almost like she was wearing a mask. I thought, why does her face look so odd? It's like there was no texture to her skin at all. And I thought, I don't know if this was something, going on with the way they just shot it or reshoots or something, but there was just something odd about her face that I thought, well, in these flashbacks, they're fine. These others, there's something funny going on. And maybe it's just me, I'm not catching on to something, but it just stood out very visually to me that it seemed almost like 2 different people.
In that same theme of like tinkering afterwards kind of a thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Sure.
Well, even that whole scene was like, okay, so she's doing this thing where she's trying to hide out, right? And then he goes out in the rain because everything happens in the rain, and he faints, right? And up until he wakes up in the vet office or whatever, right? I'm still thinking that she's just waiting for him to pass out because she knows he's going to pass out, so he can call her people in. And it's like, and so it's the way that they have her act in the first part, and then when they're down south in the little summer cottage where they're having a little vacation hotspot, her way of acting and the way that they're shooting her completely changes. Like now, much more up close, much more focused on her, obviously, but it didn't jive with the character, and
because it turned into the Karate Kid 2 at that point is what it reminded me of. Oh, I'm the American, I'm here, and I was waiting for her ex-boyfriend to show up again, and he was gonna have to fight with the little drum thing and all that stuff.
Dance battle.
Where do you guys stand on the fact that they set her up as this knife smith, and we don't really see the knives?
At the end, come on, that's how she kills her grandfather. She picks up Wolverine's claws, flings it.
That's the big fight that we were. That's the championship, the village champion moment.
I feel like I could have made that.
That's the payoff. That's why they had to have that extra scene that they had to add in about her and the former
him with the arrow, her
with the knives. Yeah, so it was because she picks those severed claws up, and she's gonna throw one into the back of her grandfather's head from 10 feet away.
So what you're saying is, yes, Pete, that was dumb.
Yes, Pete, that was.
I do like this part of. I mean, I'm bad sometimes at seeing things in this way, but you guys have really convinced me that probably much like most tent poles or anything, there was probably two things. Number one, there was a really interesting idea. Original idea for this movie. And number two, there are 2 original screenwriters desperately trying not to kill themselves.
Yeah. Well, what I was really hoping for was in that final scene when the grandfather falls off and Logan passes out or he falls to the ground and the 2 girls are there. I'm like, okay, now's when you've got Ninja McGee and the Knife Smith, and they're gonna have to fight each other for him because I don't know which I know which one I want him to be with, but apparently the writers wanted him with this other one. I'm like, no, let these 2 girls fight it out for him because that would be much more interesting than what I just watched.
Red hair's got to win. She was awesome.
Oh yeah.
She kind of looked like a little bit of like what Southern people describe as aliens from alien abductions. Something about her facial structure had that same kind of thing, but she was just so much more fun than the female romantic lead.
Totally.
Oh, there's
She
so
was
many great moments with her. I mean, the rental car thing and just, I mean, all that stuff early on. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, she's a
You're a
very,
parent.
Oh, I loved it when she rescued him in the hillbilly bar.
oh, yes.
That was a great
Yeah.
bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
That whole beginning was great. That whole
Yes.
open, I think, was pretty strong.
Oh, when he goes to
he's friends with the bear?
avenge the bear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
That was
But
that was good.
like
Although you
almost-
have to admit he didn't really give the bear much time to argue. He
Yeah.
says, "Don't make me do this." Nick, the bear.
Don't make me do this. The bear is like,
The bear's like,
I'm
"What?"
feeling better. You just got a bear ache.
You'll
And
be
he's
stone
like,
dead in a moment.
yeah.
You'll be stone dead in a moment. No, I'm feeling fine.
Like, fine.
I
gotta
go for a walk.
happy.
The look that the bear gave him when they first started walking together,
Yeah.
the bear might as well have been like, sup. Like they just had this moment of like, oh, back in the forest? Yeah, me too. What are you eating? Berries? What are you? I don't know. Probably killing some people. All right.
You're gonna-
I'll
I'm gonna
check
pee
you
on
later.
this tree.
That was
Yeah,
the
that's right. You're gonna
strangest
take a
looking
leak?
CG bear because it looked
Yes.
like a bad animatronic.
It
Yes.
did.
And I was looking, I'm like, is that supposed to look that bad? I couldn't figure out why it looked the way it did.
Well,
Uh,
Canadian.
Can talk first. I'm sorry. No, I don't know why I'm trying to lead things. I was just wondering. As far as pros, I was wondering if it's worth talking at least for a couple minutes about the top of the bullet train
Love
sequence.
that.
Oh,
Love
Because
that.
love
I thought that was amazing, and as soon as it ended, I was like, "Oh no, there's probably like an hour to go." Like,
Well,
how are
and-
they going to top
And
this?
it had that like Asian martial arts film kind of Jackie Chan because there was a little bit of humor with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Yeah.
with
But
the, they're
the
fighting
pace-
and then he and
Yeah.
he's looking at the
Oh,
enemy
just the whole
and
the whole visual.
that whole
you know,
thing where he's looking
com-
behind him, seeing
yes.
it, and he ducks, and then he other ducks, and they switch it around, and he fakes him out and gets
Yeah.
whacked. That whole scene was great.
Well, I
thought it
love
was
that.
so
And that's why I said
fun.
after that train scene, because what we have is we've got the funeral and the big action sequence, and then it slows down for a second as they get on the train, and then boom, we're right into another one. And what I loved about that was from the previews, I was expecting like Mission Impossible, long, ridiculous, drawn out train top sequence fight, but they kept it short, which was nice. And then I thought, okay, they'll get off the train, they'll get to the small town, and then boom, right into another big action sequence as the
Right.
Yakuza find them or something. And then it was like, oh no, we're gonna just
Talk
plow
for the
through
next
some
hour.
of this- Yes,
Right.
exactly. I thought we went from one movie to the movie I didn't want to see.
It was like when Anakin and Amidala went off to frolic on that planet when they were hiding.
I don't know what movie you're talking about. It must be something that I don't acknowledge the existence of.
He's talking about Mississippi Burning.
Yes.
It's actually a really good film. It doesn't hold up that great, but racism. Was that funny joke? Never mind. Okay.
I loved the bullet train sequence. The only problem I really have with it is the fact that these guys are slicing the roof of this train open,
And no one notices.
and nobody notices. Nobody stops the train. It just goes along its merry way.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, holes are blown in the side as it's going 300 miles down.
Well, and that
That's-
guy, when he pushes that guy out the hole, he gets plumb sucked out, right?
Yeah, it's like
No one else gets sucked out of the plane.
And she's sitting
Well-
there with her earphones.
Yeah,
That was
that was horrible.
again, as Pete said, magic earphones.
Uh-huh.
Well, not only magic earphones, magic window in the top of the train. 'Cause it's like they're fighting over I don't know how many car lengths of train that they're clawing stuff through. And then if he gets rid of the one guy, it's like, oh, there's a guy way back there. Look, he just so happens to be right in the spot where he can look down on her. And I'm like, I didn't see any other windows in any other lengths of the train. It's what I call the Rambo syndrome. If you remember in First Blood, he goes and hides in a tree so that he can drop down on the guy that stops, out of the thousands of trees in the forest, the guy's going to stop to take a break under the one tree that John Rambo's in. It's like the guy's going to get sucked out of the train to the one spot where he can look at the, person he needs to get. I was like, why does he sit under the only window in the roof of the train?
Well,
That's a good point.
so there's
My-
lots of windows.
There are.
Well,
That's
there,
also a good
I
point.
that,
You guys, what I'm saying
you
is
totally
everyone has
balanced it out.
Great points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
I
just
know.
go around the circle and make great points. My nitpicky thing was if I had to be nitpicky, because again, too many, because again, that whole sequence was amazing for me. It did make that one guy, his main battle person, or the two battle people in the Yakuza, also superhuman. He has claws for hands. And he's like, I'll stop here. They have a knife, but they're like, nope, bullet train. I'm coming to a stop. Like they seemed pretty awesome. But I still love that sequence. They are the Yakuza, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't like the Yakuza. That was not. It was like the Western movie fail, where they just have a bunch of swarthy cowboys with beards that are just kind of dirty. Yeah. That's what you get out of the Yakuza in this movie. They all have weird tattoos, and they're just all angry. They're just like not even them. Every Japanese person in this movie is really angry all the time.
Well, I mean, the Yakuza were sent to make a hit. I mean, the sort of they weren't a character role. They were the
Yakuza was the character role. I mean, the Yakuza was kind of this is the the universal zombie in World War Z, right? Well, I mean, it was they just were there, but
it wasn't. They weren't being themselves. They were sent there to cause ruckus.
Yes. No. That's...
I mean, yeah. But you're right. I mean, I thought the same thing at one point. It was like they're just angry tattooed youths. I mean, why are they? And the guy with the bow and arrow. Okay, so I'm going off on a tangent. I know, but apologize. But like the funeral scene, the guy's like praying, "I'm going to protect your granddaughter." Right? Okay. A, didn't bring enough arrows. B, he's like shooting like once in a while. Like he's got so he's got 8 arrows, right? There's 100 Yakuza. He brings 8 arrows, and he only uses like 3 of them
while tiptoeing across the skyline, and somehow keeping up with them at full bolt.
He's an amazing shot, but apparently he has a fire rate of like 1 per minute.
Yeah, like he couldn't be a little more help.
I mean, but remember he was praying that he was going to protect her, and he's letting this dude run off with her.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was not good.
It was
with friends like these.
But a lot of Yakuzas like these, that old favorite saying. But I did like a lot of the filming of that scene where those really super long not long shots, meaning duration. But someone falling down and then that huge zoom in or zoom out.
Yeah. Those were very effective.
Felt like very cool, organic. Let's make this feel as real as possible and not fast action cutting.
It should have been a lot better. I mean, there was like even the spot where he hit one guy with an arrow, and Wolverine and Mayuko just ran. They ran, and you see him like far off in the distance. It almost looked like an anime shot where he was the way he was sitting there, and you're like, okay, that's awesome. Why didn't he bring more arrows? It's right. I just didn't. I wanted more of it. I wanted him like taking off half the guys. But
and I was gonna say, I love the way that scene was shot, and you talk to the composition of some of those things. But it was what bothered me so much was getting into that was that super shaky cam when they start running. When they first went,
so they
just, it's like, I've got all this shaky cam all over, and then it's like, oh, now we're going to go to the guy on the rooftops, and we're going to go back to some nice, smooth tracking shots, and then they're running. We never see that shaky cam again, and I thought, why? It just stands out so much. It was so distracting.
Yes.
That it just, I thought, there's just so much unevenness to this film across the board, and that's...
I think a lot of action directors want to be Paul Greengrass, but they don't have the balls to be Paul Greengrass. And I'm not saying that he's the best. Like his filmmaking actually upsets his shooting style upsets me a lot, but it did change things.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
I was wondering, I didn't mean to change the subject, but I was wondering if maybe someone wanted to talk a smidge about Gene for a second. Is that weird?
Well played, Tommy.
No,
I'm kind of like that red-haired girl. I can just sort of sense things. But not people's death, only people's instant messages.
That's called a coarse segue, my friend.
What a terrible superpower. My superpower is A, I can call an elevator 30% faster, and B, I can read people's instant messages out loud. I'm sorry to pull back the curtain, America. I'm going to stop talking. Let's do this.
The segue apart, I did want to talk about the little bit of I don't know if it was meant to be flat. I don't know what her role was meant to do. I think it was. I think they intended it to be the driver, the sorrow. Like what would? Originally, I thought it would be what drove him to consider, taking the guy's offer. But I don't think they beefed it up enough. Because there was the guilt. I mean, she was that, and what was odd is that it's not if it's all in his head. It's obviously guilt. She's playing it pretty flipping dark about it, right? Like basically saying, "Why don't you just come on and hang out with me?"
Right.
Now, but the last one, I thought was interesting when she gets up and walks away. I felt that might be a foreshadowing to the character coming back.
Well, what I found interesting is the what's her name, the granddaughter Mayuki. She keeps grilling him on who's Jean, and I thought there's going to be something. They were really going to develop that into something, and then she's basically like, oh, she was like one of you, and did she die or something? I thought there's so much more they could have done with that to key into those. As you said, to give those scenes some weight of if she's asking him about it, he's got to be contemplating this. What does this mean to him? Why is he having these dreams and then I even wondered, are they dreams or because of what her abilities are? Is it something else that's going on? What do they do with it?
The first time he was doing that, and then he wakes up and he sees Viper on top, top of him.
Oh yeah.
I thought that they were playing that she was, they kind of gave the impression that might be another mutant, like a telepath
exactly.
mutant. Yeah. Screwing with his head, right? But then they didn't. I mean,
that was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. It was a terrible.
Because the way the character was, the character's like, you need to die.
Yeah.
You need to come join me. Like it's like, why would she say that?
Well, and Viper in general was a completely wasted experience of a evildoer.
Yeah, she could have been a lot.
Is that how she implanted that thing in it? Because this was the thing I trying to figure it out. Because she kissed him, and then it's like, oh, he's supposed to think that's like a dream again. But as I watched that, it's like he she's on him, and then he's like, what's going on? And and then he gets up, and the claws are out, and she's gone, and it's not like he woke up again, like he was dreaming. It's like then he gets out of bed, and clearly he was awake for what just happened. He may have thought it was a dream, and I thought he needed to really.
But then he went back to sleep.
Confusion. Yeah. Well, no, then he goes out and sees, it's raining, and so then he's going to have a moment.
The rain. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was
everything ends in the rain.
It rains a lot in Japan, apparently.
And that was a weird little moment with him when he gets implanted with the little matrix device, because they kind of foreshadow that there are two of them in the jars.
Right.
But then when he comes in later, he sees that both of the jars are empty. But when he's pulling it out of his heart, there's only one. And it was one of those things that it really wasn't a huge problem. But why did they even have to set up two?
Oh.
Huh.
Right. Was the other one in Yoshida? Was that meant to imply that he's still alive? You're supposed to figure that out?
I don't know. He already had two on his lungs.
Right.
Right.
So,
Right.
So that's the thing I didn't get was they can be used to keep someone alive or to cripple them at the same time. And then I thought, well, if you really need to cripple Wolverine to dig into his bone marrow, just have the thing stop his heart or, stop him breathing and pass out when you need him to, and then just take him. If you've got something on his heart, just give him a heart attack. He'll still be.
He'd already built that huge robot that needs to take adamantium out of his
into his hands. Yeah.
So what a waste.
Yeah, that's good.
We bankrupt the company so we could do the screws in the hands thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste that money.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
it just seemed so Andy. Okay, and I mean, and I it's like the representative for the industry. I mean, you said it seemed like a script rewrite. Is it? So it's a big budget movie, lots of hype. Would they do that? Would they sit there and halfway through going, "Oh, we're going to completely off track the way we were doing this," and at the end go, "Yeah, that looks good."
Well, Darren Aronofsky was attached to this thing first, and I don't know how far it went into development with him as director before James Mangold came on. Darren Aronofsky was attached to this, as far as I recall.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue was with that, but Hollywood is a strange thing. I mean, they spend money on things, and then they spend money trying to figure out if it's working or not, and then they have to do these evaluations to determine what's going to cost us more, to fix it or to let it be and lose some. And they play all these money games. That's what all these test screenings are for. And there's probably random things that they decided, well, it's an issue, but we don't have the money to go fix that. You'll have to pick your fight. So I mean, I really don't know the story behind it, but there could be all sorts of those sorts of problems that happened in this.
And Aronofsky has had that trouble before.
Yeah,
like with the Fountain.
Right. Yes.
I don't know if it would have any comparison to this kind of a thing, but he had it all ramped up to go with Brad Pitt with a huge budget, and then it all got taken away.
Right.
Okay.
I would like to take a moment to talk about the fact that I did see this in Dolby Atmos when I saw it the first time.
What's that?
Because that's Dolby's new mega surround sound with like 60 something speakers and hundreds of channels of sound. And I don't recall seeing this when I saw Man of Steel, but usually there's some type of like little bumper at the front that sort of introduces the sound, like surround sound, and for the Atmos, it does highlight a lot of the features. Like it'll say 360 degrees of sound, and they will have sounds that travel around sort of the auditorium. And then it talks about, speakers in the ceiling, and it plays rain. And actually in this film, there was some very nice use of the Dolby Atmos mix. So in that opening shot, as at Nagasaki, as the planes come in, and off to the air raid siren starts, it's off screen, and it sounds off to the front right of the stadium. As the camera pans, that sound actually moves into the middle of the stadium as that shot pans across.
Oh,
so as
neat.
that camera is moving, the sound was moving across this, into the center. And I thought, wow, that was very noticeable and added just a sense of depth to it. When I saw it the second time, I just saw it in regular surround sound, and I could tell the difference between Atmos having a very, for lack of a better term, detailed sound, mix,
cool,
as opposed to surround sound, which just felt like broad strokes of there's sounds over here and there's sounds over here. I could really tell, even when they're driving into the city for the first time in the beginning, there were different sounds on different sides of the street. Because of all the rain, there was a lot of, it really sounded like the storm was all around you, not just coming out of the front or to the left. It was immersive rain all throughout the ceiling coming down. So there was one that I could see how this can be used. Whereas in Man of Steel, it was just so loud I couldn't really distinguish. But here there was that distinction of some quieter moments and sound being specifically placed in different parts of the auditorium. So if you do have an Atmos theater near you, check out the upcoming films, see what's coming. Not every film has this mix. There's some things that are coming out, and it's worth it. You don't pay anything extra for it that I'm aware of, but it did really sort of enhance some of the sounds.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds better than 3D. That sounds fantastic.
I would add, I don't know, I saw this in 3D. It is a fake 3D, and it is completely useless.
That's what I heard.
I mean, it's like so useless. Like you like it's one of those things. You take the glasses off, and it's all fuzzy, but you put the glasses on, and it looks like a really crisp, though slightly dull 2D. Like it was a terrible conversion.
Have you guys been? I'm sorry. Can I ask a slightly on-topic conversation? Have you guys been a part of what are those called, or like jump seats or box seats or whatever?
Yeah. D-box.
D-box. Have you done those? Is that a thing?
I've done those before, yeah.
What is that? I've never even heard of this.
They
you
move
pay
you
extra.
around.
It's like riding on Star Tours at a movie theater.
Oh,
It's
good
4D.
Lord.
No, it's
what?
fun. It's pretty
It's
fun.
awesome.
Because I saw it during The Help, and it wasn't impressive. It was very unimpressive. I was very. Wait, was it? So, what did you see, and was it cool at all?
Well, gosh. What
Look,
did I
Pacific
see?
Rim is in D-box.
Oh.
Yeah, I've seen a couple films, and I can't remember what they are. Obviously, it wasn't that impressive, but it's fun. You move around, you shake a lot. Oh, The Expendables was something I saw in D-box.
Oh, my
Good grief.
It
And
just vibrates.
It's all based in like explosions.
Yeah,
Okay.
explosions and it'll tip, when in car chases and stuff, they'll move around and stuff. It's
Oh,
kind
that sounds fun. I want to do that. Okay, cool.
Okay, did you know you could get D-Box at
expensive,
your
though.
house? Like there is a D-Box at home product.
Is that
Oh, wow.
with a
Do you mean like a
delivery?
reclining chair?
It's you get a seating. There's a seating partner which comes with a D-Box motion controller, a moving seat, a player, and a compatible movie. There is also they have gaming rigs, these incredibly complex Rube Goldberg machine type gaming things. You can also apparently get a seat, a couch, a whole couch on a rail
Wow.
that moves you in and out. This is the most awful thing I've ever seen.
So
So it's just in charge of spilling your drinks.
That's
Okay, fine.
exactly right. There are no cup holders on the couch that is displayed here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was that was a great distraction.
Sorry.
D-Box. I'm all over that.
I gotta say, I was horribly distracted by Viper's awful dubbing into normal
Yeah.
English. I guess
What was
I
that?
could not watch
Is she
her.
not English?
Seriously,
Yeah, they totally
She-
Mad
her-
Maxed her.
Her name is
Yeah.
Svetlana Kodchenkova. She is
That doesn't sound English.
Russian. She's
so
Russian.
why cast her? And because I mean, I have a pretty good ear, I think. And there were parts of, I have to say, with some of the characters in Japan, with some of there were parts where I'm like, what word did they say? What was that? And that, I was like, okay, you're going to challenge me on this, and there's a bit of an accent there, and we'll go with it. But then then you've got this other character, and you're just going to completely dub that person over. I mean, is the accent that bad? Because again, I don't know enough about this character, but if she'd had some type of Eastern European accent, it wouldn't have been a distraction.
Is
to
that
me.
going
It
to
would-
ruin the character Viper?
Yeah,
Like, what was
yeah.
the reason?
Yeah.
That
Maybe that was
probably
her
would have
mutant
made
power.
her more enjoyable.
Maybe
Yeah.
that was your mutant power.
Speaking with a dubbed voice.
Cannot be understood without dubbing.
She's got a 0.2 second delay between when her lips move and the sound comes out.
That's
a
awesome.
special power.
That's
That's
it.
horrible.
And she can detect misspellings on menus.
Yes.
I just before we've got to start wrapping this up. I want to flick chart it, but I just want to point out some of the effects. We talked about the bullet train. I did particularly love the porcupining of Wolverine in the Japanese village.
No.
I loved that so much.
He cuts one. He
Cuts
gets
the
one, turns around,
freaking ropes.
He cuts the first one, and then it's like, oh, I got hit with another one.
Yeah.
I'll just keep running down the middle of this street.
I thought no,
like he
you're
never-
right. No, I'm not
He
saying
never
it wasn't.
thinks to go into a building.
No,
or
I'm not saying.
go
No,
left.
he's the Wolverine. He doesn't need to go
Yeah,
into
he does.
buildings. Are for no.
Yeah.
They're for
He's a 200-year-old warrior. He
I'm
should figure it
saying
out.
the visuals
No,
of that
Oh.
sequence in particular, as the camera pulls back and you see all of these ninjas on the rooftops with their I thought that was a really beautiful shot, and there is it is very difficult to architect a shot like that without giving away some suspension of disbelief. And I
wish it wasn't
as we
based
put
in
it apart,
Stupidity.
most of the film I think was ultimately obviously forgettable. A lot of it was dumb. The Atmos was cool, and see it for the bullet train.
I
I
completely.
would say also see it for Yukio, the
Yeah.
Violet
Watch the first-
Fukushima.
But like
Yeah.
Chad says,
This is her first film.
Oh,
Wow.
she's great, and like Chad says, take like a Monopoly because there's an hour in the middle where you could get a couple
Yeah,
hotels.
you could leave. Yeah. After the bullet train, just take a break, come back for for what? What do you need to come
Don't
back
come
for?
back. Don't come back.
Yeah, really, don't come back. Let's flick chart. Let's flick chart this thing.
All right.
Nope.
I wanted to compliment what Peter said. That I
well,
loved
then go
that
ahead.
shot so much, and I thought that was so smart. Also, because what little I like of, well, again, I'm not a superhero guy, but I like superheroes to be as human as possible. That's why I like people like Batman, and why I have very little interest in other superheroes. Wolverine seems to be just sort of a blunt object that
Right.
runs on rage and just happens to have knives for fingers.
Right.
And so he would be the kind of guy that he can cut one or two, but then when he has three or four, now they're holding his arms. And yes, he would just be like, I'm so running on rage, I'm just going to keep marching towards
And
the
dragging 20 ninjas that are trying to pull back on those ropes.
I kind of like the idea of that being his, because he doesn't have bat claws. He doesn't have like bat boomerang.
That's
He
true.
can't get away. His whole amazing plan was to go into Ninja Alley and just walk up.
Yeah.
And when that fails him, he's like, well, still walking.
Okay,
And
so
I'm still filled with rage. So to be honest, I kind of liked that.
yeah, I think this is the summer of the, if you're a superhero in a film and you're fighting, at some point you've got to slide across the street and then, stick your hands down to stop yourself, because Superman did that, about 30 times? And
that was a signature move.
And I saw it in Wolverine, and I'm like, is there like one stunt guy that's like, doing all these fight things, and he just like learned this thing and is like, I'm going to put it in all these movies this summer? 'Cause I'm like, ninja kicks and slide and then claw to stop. I'm like, oh, it's the move of 2013.
I think actually we saw Viola Davis do that in The Help, right? That was the first time I saw it.
Much better.
I don't know. My D-box was going so nuts that it's hard to concentrate on the film.
All right, Flickchart. Somebody help us. You can find us at flickchart.com/thenextreel. And what does this do? Does this take us?
This is number
To
100.
100.
What?
Oh,
We've hit the golden ticket.
Wait, what does this mean? That this is over?
No, it's over. Yeah, we're done. We're on the show.
Oh,
Does
really?
this mean I have to sell my apartment? This is getting really weird.
This is how we're going to mark this with this one? Really?
It is.
Okay.
That's very sad.
Well, it's number 100 on Flickchart. It's not our 100th episode of the show.
Right. Okay. It's 100 on Flickchart, and we know where to.
Well, that means yes. And so
Okay, here we go.
Refine
Enough. The Wolverine or Inside Man?
Inside Man.
Here.
Inside Man. Sorry.
The Wolverine.
Really? Did the devil just say that?
No.
Oh, good God. He's just trying to mess us up now.
Oh,
It doesn't matter. He was outvoted.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
it's cumulative. I forgot. Okay.
That's right. Boy, it's taking its time to think. Saving your choice.
It's actually pretty much Andy. Like, it doesn't really matter what we say. He's going to put.
He's going to push whatever button he
yeah,
wants.
right.
Tell you what, they were clearly wrong on that one. So let me pick the right choice for them. This thing is Flickchart's having a very slow night tonight.
Well, there's a lot of Flickchart activity.
That's right.
It's because somebody's on there ranking like Roddy Piper movies. They live.
I came to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
That's the spirit.
That's the John Carpenter. Where are you?
What was that?
We lost him a long time ago.
Okay. I haven't seen that movie. I know about that movie.
Oh, it's got
what?
It's got a.
Is it like fun to see, or is it
Oh,
like
it's fun. There's a brutally choreographed fight scene in the alley between Roddy Piper and I can't remember the guy he fights, but it's like, fist, street fighting fists, on skin, and you've got that sequence, and then the some really cheesy,
Doesn't the fight goes on for a very long time?
It's really long. Yeah,
it is.
Okay.
It's hilarious.
All right, here we go. The Wolverine or the Parallax View?
Parallax View.
I'd go Parallax View.
Parallax View.
I guess that was an agreement.
Sorry, I went away.
Wolverine.
I had to close my door. Parallax View, just for the film sequence thing.
For the completist.
The Wolverine or Oz the Great and Powerful?
Oh crap!
I know.
Oz.
We're already getting down there.
Oh,
Wolverine.
Oz.
I'm going Wolverine.
I am going Wolverine too. I think.
I am
Seriously?
too.
Oh, I had so much fun with Oz.
I had no fun with Oz.
Oh well, whatever. You dead inside.
I'd rather watch the bullet train sequence than anything in Oz the
Dead
Great.
inside.
Right? That's exactly what I'm making it on. And I want
That's
to
right.
be a ninja in the worst way. That one scene, I know we're done talking about the film, but when all the ninjas were all like, neck snap, walk on things, we're wearing slippers, so cool.
That is so true. Oh man,
They
you're
can't just
absolutely
walk,
right.
They got to take 2 steps and then flip. It's like they can't take 3 consecutive
And-
steps. It's like step. Now I've got to throw in the air.
And you
Step,
notice
throw in the air.
ninjas
Like,
never flip
no
straight
reason.
forward. They always
Totally.
flip sideways. The parallel
Yes.
flip. Epic parallel flipping in this movie.
with bird sound.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes,
Is
yes.
this the Wolverine?
Are we already at the
What?
bottom now?
What?
Where are we? Did we go with Wolverine on that
Yeah,
one? or-
yeah. I think we did.
Yes.
Because of
I
the,
think
yeah.
Steve is the only Oz.
Yes, I am.
Okay, the
Said
Wolverine
Oz.
or We're No Angels.
What?
We're No Angels. The 1955 Humphrey
I'm going
Bogart.
to say the Wolverine.
I
What's
have not
Weird No
seen that
Angels?
one. I have to abstain from voting on this one.
I
That
would do
sounds like a terrible, like, Joe Pesci comedy.
Yeah,
No.
but I do.
No, you're thinking.
Oh,
you're
Weird No
thinking
Angels
of the
is
Sean
great.
Penn with the Sean Penn one in the late
Maybe.
80s.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
that's
was
the one they did for the Christmas thing.
Yeah.
it
It was our
is
Christmas
it
show.
was our Christmas show the first year we did it.
Yeah, the
I-
Wolverine.
Oh man. I really do
I
like
guess I have
Weird
to
No
abstain.
Angels.
I'm sorry.
It's a great film.
Yo does it just by herself.
Then why are you? Then what's the question?
Wolverine or We're No Angels.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you
But if
stand, Andy? Come on, defend it.
I'm We're No Angels. I already said.
I think I am too.
Totally.
I would rather watch that movie.
The Wolverine or Bullet. Totally Bullet for me.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Bullet.
totally Bullet. Yeah.
I've never seen Bullet.
Oh.
What?
I'm
That's-
the
Just say-
worst.
Just say
I just
Bullet.
moved to this country last year,
oh, okay.
so I'm just catching
And
up
you're
on
dubbed
Cheers.
right now. The
Yeah.
Wolverine or Bull Durham. Bull Durham.
Durham.
Wolverine.
Bull Durham.
Wolverine.
What? Who said
Sorry.
Wolverine
I did.
That'd be Pete.
over Pete?
And
Really?
Mike.
Yeah, I did too.
2 for 2.
Are you guys being? I don't mean to make it sound. Well, no, I mean to make it sound personal. You would say Wolverine over Bull Durham?
Oh god.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem
Durham.
with Flick Chart. Here's the
Nobody
problem with
likes
Flick
Bull
Chart.
Durham. I thought that was like.
Oh, I
a-
love Bull Durham.
No, I'm the
Yeah.
one, and it's because of Kevin 2x4 Costner.
You know what?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to create a section on the webpage called the Lumber Shed where we're gonna put some
The
movies.
Lumber Shed. That's
Right.
exactly right.
And you can put Bull Durham in there, and you can put Midnight Run in
Look,
there,
I
and
fully yes, the De Niro series. That's right. I fully respect that all of you gentlemen,
then Andy, push the
appreciate
correct button, please.
appreciate.
I already
Bull
did.
Durham.
I already did. We already got.
I know that my vote won't count. Therefore, I'm going to stick with it. Go
The
ahead.
Wolverine or Key Largo.
Oh, Key Largo.
The Wolverine.
I'm
Key Largo, is that also Humphrey Bogart?
It is.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And Lauren Bacall, Edward G.
Yes.
Robinson.
Key Largo.
Yeah.
We
All
have
right,
to.
so 4 for
let's
Key
put a-
Largo.
Mm.
Sorry. 88. There you go. 88 out of 100.
Wow. Okay.
Honestly,
Wow.
it's higher than I expected.
Yeah.
Well, it's because some of you chose it over Oz. That's why.
Yeah, we
We
never
just-
would have
wait.
come to those rather horrible, awkward discussions had some of us agreed with Oz.
We mean that Wolverine is better than 88 other movies?
No. It's
No.
better than 12 other movies.
Right.
Oh,
Number
Out of,
88.
out
yeah.
of 100, there are only.
it is 88. Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. That makes me feel a lot better.
Yes.
I was about to throw my entire computer in a bucket of iced tea, which I always have on
Pete
site.
and I only talk about trash.
There are at the bottom.
Don't
There are
really
some pretty
like
trashy
anymore.
movies.
Yeah.
Hey, good chat, gents. I like the strong opinions of this group. I appreciate it, even on a crappy movie, that we can come together. And,
think we need to-
and talk deeply about it. You're good people.
I think we need to adjust our movie selection process.
Well, we're going to see about that. We're coming up for the remainder of the summer next month. I don't even want to say what the options are.
Are we still on the air? Or are we
Oh
just
yeah,
talking-
we're still on the air. So
okay.
I'm trying to close out here, trying to do it like a gentleman, and
I
everybody.
apologize. I was wondering when I could start swearing
yeah,
for no reason.
a mere seconds away.
They'll just
Seconds
fix
Fair
away.
it.
enough.
Uh,
I'm so excited.
Make sure to find us if you want to review the fantastic list of films, head over to flickchart.com/thenextreel. Otherwise, facebook.com/thenextreel or thenextreel.com for and check out the blog. Steve wrote I'm going to say it. It's a controversial.
I knew you'd feel that way.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even get into it that way because you're here. I want to make sure we do it on an episode where you're not around to defend yourself. Anyhow, thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen, for doing the roundtable, and we'll see you next time.
It was Good night, everybody. America. Thank you.